I should get one of those.
Kind of spendy, but I like it. I mean, it's handy not to have to like carry around a notebook.
Yeah.
But
You want to start off by showing them your tablet?
huh?
Check it out.
All right, you ready?
Let's do it.
Okay. Welcome back to the Realty Room, your go-to podcast for realtors. I'm your host, Miles Pointer, joined as always by my fantastic co-host, Marcus Butler.
What's up?
Today we are going to get straight into sharing commissions and kind of some new voices that we've heard come down from our brokerage, and then we will end talking a little bit about safety, just because we're just ending Realtor Safety Month. So
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
Should be some exciting stuff.
Yeah.
We're also pre-recording right now because we got vacations coming up.
Yeah, so by the time you listen to this, Marcus is going to be in Florida.
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to be in Greece. We'll be living it up, not worrying about work.
Yep.
So
Pretty much. Your vacation seems a little cooler than mine, but hey.
that's okay. Vacation's a vacation.
Yeah.
Man.
How long you gone?
Like a week and a half.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah.
That's going to be fun.
All
Cool.
right. We're going to we're not going to do any rates today, but we're going to get straight into sharing commissions. And the reason we want to get straight into this is we feel like it's super important. There's so many changes that are coming. There's probably going to be more changes, but we're just sharing with you guys what we know right now and what we believe to be true.
Yeah.
So,
And there's a lot of agents I know are just frustrated with the changes. I don't know. I think Miles and I both are kind of have the approach where we're a little oddly, I don't know, I'll speak for myself, but a little excited. I don't know why. Changes is exciting. Let's embrace it. Let's figure out how to use these new rules maybe to our advantage a little bit, work a little bit stronger for our clients, with these new tools, and yeah, embrace the change. And maybe we can give you guys who aren't too thrilled about the changes maybe a different perspective maybe.
yeah. Just adding on to that, one thing I like about this is I feel like it adds a little bit of a level of professionalism. Like at the end of the day, real estate is a relationship business, but just the fact that before you show houses, you need to get a buyer contract in place, that kind of thing. It just adds like a little bit of professionalism to the business. I like that personally.
Yeah. And maybe there's something you could add to your arsenal about your selling proposition and why you're the right agent for the job now with this extra tool that everyone's complaining about, and you're over here slaying it because you know how to work it to your advantage, right?
Mm-hmm.
So anyways,
just real quick,
yeah,
one more thing to add. One thing I heard is that if you spent the amount of energy working on your business that you did about worrying about all of the law changes, you'd be so far ahead.
There you go.
Quit worrying about it. Just focus on building your business from this point.
Yep. Let's all take it as an opportunity to go out there and, I guess, like I said, slay it.
Yeah, exactly.
Get some sales going. Okay. So I guess to start, what kind of prompted this episode was some of the new words coming down from our brokerage, and there's been some videos out there that have been made, and I know everyone's doing their little bit of research and figuring out how they're going to change their business. And the topic of not sharing or not even predetermining your seller's buyer agent commission that's being offered. So I know in our forms, it's going to ask what the total commission is, and then what percentage of that commission will be shared with the cooperating brokerage. And they're saying and what this is proposing is putting to be determined or $0 or NA in that blank where it's asking how much commission will be shared with the buyer's agent.
Which I think, once again, so Marcus just shared about Idaho State forms.
Yep.
So that's where we're at. But there's been so many words already that Idaho State is going to change it again. Whereas like I'm also licensed in Washington State, and it's a little bit different there. They don't even mention what compensation you're giving to a buyer. There's nothing in a listing agreement that talks about that. And every state's going to be a little bit different, and things might change going forward again new forms might come out in your state. But yeah, and it's interesting to see what different people are doing.
Yep.
But,
so if there's something when we're all done here, I think there's a way to comment or send us a message. You should totally send us a message and let us know what you think and maybe what you're doing, because I'm interested to hear what's going around there.
mm-hmm.
Sure. So where do you want to start there, Miles?
Yeah. So first of all, I want to talk about commission sharing websites. That's something that people have talked a lot about. It's like, well, if you can't put what commission you're giving, what you're offering on the MLS, let's just put it on these new commission sharing websites that are starting to pop up. And the things that we've been hearing is, although technically letter of the law, there's nothing to say that those commission sharing websites are completely breaking the law. However, there's a difference between the letter of the law and the spirit of the law. And from everything we've heard, we feel like if you are posting on those certain websites, you're opening yourself up to lawsuits. And if that goes to court, those judges aren't just looking at the letter of the law, they're also looking at the spirit of the law.
And another way of explaining the spirit would be like the intent of the law. Correct?
Yep.
Okay.
Correct. Yeah.
It's a good point. There's a lot of hungry people out there. This is kind of a hot topic as far as the legal industry goes. So don't want to open yourself up if you don't need to.
Yeah, correct. Sorry, lost my train of thought there. So I guess what we would recommend is just stay away from that.
Yeah.
And like what Marcus said earlier, like we're going to be talking about mainly why you shouldn't share your commissions, or why you shouldn't even write anything in when you're dealing with your seller.
Yeah, and there's of course other things. There's other little tricks and loopholes people have mentioned. I don't frankly know if they're jokes or what, but like ending the price of your home at $450,000 and $300, or $450,300 for 3% or whatever, but mowing a 3% in the backyard and the lawns. People see it from an aerial. I know I'm not going to mess around with any of that business personally, so I don't think it's a smart idea.
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, where things are moving, or it sounds like things are moving, is it's going to be purely on the buyers. So you have a buyer contract set up with your buyers for a certain amount, whether that's a dollar amount, whether that's a percentage amount, whatever, however you're going to get paid. And you need to deal with your buyer before you look at houses, and decide what they're going to pay you, right? And then based on houses that you look at, you're not worried about what the sellers are offering. You just write it into your offer, right? Mm-hmm. And it just becomes a point of negotiation. So like one thing I think we even shared this in a previous episode, but the difference between a buyer's market and a seller's market, right? If you are in a complete buyer's market, write in whatever percentage you want or whatever percentage you agreed with. See if the sellers will cover all of that. However, in a seller's market, it may be advantageous for your buyers to write a more compelling offer to the sellers. And if your buyers are willing and able to pay your compensation fully, it may be more advantageous because that's a better offer.
Yeah, it's tricky to think through the steps.
Yeah, sorry, I'm trying to word this.
I know. Buyers, sellers, seller market, buyer's market. No, I get it. And I mean, realistically, it's just the buyer agent commission is an extension of price, right? Whether you're covering the buyer agent commission as a buyer, then you're therefore paying them more for their home. Or if you're not covering the buyer agent commission, then you are therefore offering less for their home. So, I mean, it's an extension of price. It's another thing for us to negotiate. And I really don't see the huge deal with it. Also, one thing that needs to be considered is your your buyer's position, right? Sometimes your buyer will need to structure the offer in a certain way, right? And one thing you could do is write in an above asking offer, and then if your buyer doesn't have the funds to pay for your commission, you can theoretically write a really strong offer on the price perspective, maybe a little bit over asking, and then ask for them to pay for your commission, right?
Yeah.
It's another way of structuring it, just similar to a down payment in a sense, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I like to think of it as part of our job as realtors. We are negotiators, and we want to negotiate on the behalf of our clients. This is just another point of negotiation.
Mm-hmm.
So if you just think of it, purely as the business side, and if you've already, the cool thing is if you've already agreed with your buyers what they're going to be paying you, then it just comes down to whether they have extra cash, or whether you need to move on to a different house and try to offer, something else on a different house, or come to an agreement with those sellers. It just becomes a point of negotiation, just like anything else.
And also, again, it kind of comes back to your buyer's position too. Do they have the cash to cover your compensation? Also, do you even really need to ask if there's any buyer agent commission being offered from a seller, right? If it's been on the market 120 days, who really cares? Do they want to sell the house or not? Mm-hmm. Go write in what you need in the offer that's going to put the seller in a position where they actually have the opportunity to sell their house, right? Obviously, no one's bought it in 4 months. So, negotiation.
So I feel like a common question is, okay, Marcus, you say that we can't share commissions anymore. And so I'm not going to, if I'm working with a buyer, I'm not going to receive any information what they're offering, right? Let me back up. We're not supposed to share commissions. As a listing agent, if a buyer asks me what we are offering, because that's still going to happen. That's going to happen for probably a long time. If a buyer's agent asks me, hey, what are you offering for buyer's agent compensation? What do you say? Mm-hmm. And a really good line that came from our brokerage that I really like is, seller is open to any and all offers.
Yep. Or buyer requests too.
Yeah. Or buyer
offers
requests.
And buyer requests.
And you put it right back on to the buyer and the buyer's agent.
Yep. And you can even put that in your private remarks on the MLS. You're not mentioning compensation in any way. Mm-hmm. You're just hinting that they're open to any offer.
Any request.
Any request that, your buyer might have that would, help us put a deal together. We're open to it. Mm-hmm. So you're not breaking any rules. You're just saying, hey, the seller wants to sell and we'll entertain whatever you have to write up.
Yeah. Once again, if you guys have any comments, we would love to hear from you. Should I give them my email too? Or
yeah.
So if you can't comment or you have a really long thought, I'd love to hear from you. My email is miles@milespointer.com. I'll share that with Marcus. We'd love to hear what you guys are doing about all of these changes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
One other thing to point out, I think that a potential downside that might happen in some area if you are, as a listing agent, not sharing buyer agent commission, right? Or it's not pre-negotiated with your seller, or the buyer's agent asks you and you're not willing to disclose and you just give them that statement we just explained. I have a feeling, especially depending on the market, you might just see more 3% be written into the offer, right? So it's like, oh, well, I don't know. I'm going to start by asking for 3%. Whereas if you told them 2.5% up front, then they more likely to go right in 2.5% and say, okay, just like when it was listed on the MLS, it's at 2.5. That's what I'll write in, right? But anyways, that was just kind of a thought. Mm-hmm. Again, depends on the market, but I think more buyers agents will start by requesting the full 3% or whatever. Maybe they have one written at higher than 3%.
Yeah.
So,
okay, do you have any more thoughts?
No, I think that's it. I think we kind of covered all the main points, and just embrace the change, guys. I really don't think it's a big deal, and don't get caught up in lawsuits. Just use this as an opportunity to grow and change your way of doing a business a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right, real quick, we're going to touch on safety. So by the time you're listening to this, it'll be last month, but September is Realtor Safety Month. So just real quick, pointing out the importance of being safe as a realtor. And we're part of a business where we are, surrounded by strangers all the time. And so it's important to be smart about what you're doing and who you're doing it with.
Mm-hmm. A buyer can call you up from online, and you're just going to go, you get all excited and you go meet them at a property all by yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah. So we have I think we both have a story or two to share, and then we just have, a couple thoughts about staying safe. But Marcus, you have a story?
Yeah. I forget who it was. I think it's an agent, a female out of our office, and she was a newer agent, and she was telling me that she hosted an open house one time. And this guy who just came across as very talkative, kind of socially awkward, kind of like to be in your bubble a little too much, so kind of stood a little too close when he was talking to you. I don't think like the individual was very clean, so it just gave this female agent that I was talking to kind of a creepy vibe. She was at an open house. I don't know if I'd mentioned that already, and it was just him walked in and was just talking her ear off, and she kept trying to like exit the conversation. Well, he wouldn't leave. He just gave her extremely weird vibes. She was really nervous. She was sweating and was trying to figure out if she needed to figure out how to get out the door. And anyways, I can't recall all the details, but long story short, she was like really frightened. Like she was like, oh my gosh, what if he tries to attack me, whatever. And luckily it had a happy ending where, some people came into the open house, and the guy ended up leaving, and it didn't end up going into anything. But for that moment, or that like 15, 20 minutes, however long it was just really creeping her out. And she was super scared and nervous. And that's the reality of it. You can get into those situations in this business for sure, just being out there by yourself. So I would say that's the one story that I would mention that kind of made me think like, oh man, you really do need to be safe in this industry.
Yeah. And I will say, like, it's at the end of the day, your safety is worth more than anything, worth more than any commission you could possibly make off of anybody. If you just need to get out. It doesn't matter if you're in somebody else's home.
Oh yeah.
I would say, it's easier to say this and harder to implement. But like what I would say in that position is she should have just left.
Yeah.
She should have just left.
I agree. Called a friend.
Yeah.
Called the broker, asked them to come meet her at the open house and go stand outside or something.
Yeah.
And there's also, we're in Idaho. There's a bunch of rural properties out here too. This house, not a ton of open houses are happening out in the boonies, but there's some homes off the beaten path where you're isolated. There's hardly neighbors.
Yeah. Story I have is, so we recently had our association put on a panel of ex-police force members and who are now realtors, and so they could share some of their stories and tips, and so there's a few really good takeaways. One story that was shared was this lady. She got a call. Someone wanted to look at all these properties. She said, great. At the time, he had flown into the area, and so then he had rented a car or something, and I don't know, for some reason they rode in the same car. So she was driving him to all these properties that he was interested in. And after the third house, she realized that all of the first three houses, she realized that all of the first three houses were vacant. And it was just kind of odd because, like, we don't have enough vacant homes in this area for that coincidence to just happen. Like, it could happen, but
so she's with this individual.
She's with this individual.
Realizing,
he's in her car. She's showing him all these properties. And after the third house, she realizes, whoa, all three of these properties are vacant. He was just a little bit creepy, not too bad, but just a little bit creepy. And then she remembered that the license plates that he had on his car were from like Wisconsin. We're from Idaho. That's like way far away. Just little things that, like, all these little yellow flags that kind of added up. She ended up stopping the car on the side of the road and unlocking it, telling him that he needed to get out. And
wow.
she left him.
Oh, wow.
Basically on the side of this road. And, like, that's when I say, like, your safety is worth more than anything else. So she realized that. Those stories are kind of rare, but she realized, she's like, you know what, if something were to happen, like, I'm still in control of the situation.
Yeah. So
I might as well stay in control.
Yeah.
Instead of
at the next house, she might not be in control anymore.
Exactly.
Yeah. That's
so
no fun.
Using common sense. Common sense isn't very common, but yeah, if you feel, I guess, trust your gut.
I was going to say the same thing. Trust your gut. If you're feeling uneasy. And I mean, it's a little different too. If you or I were in the car with a guy that was odd, I mean, that could still happen. But when it's a female and there's this most likely much larger, heavier, stronger individual sitting next to you, I mean, you might not have many options if you let that individual be in control of the situation again. So good for her. I mean, that takes some guts. That takes some guts just to leave your client or whatever you want to call him, the creeper on the side of the road.
Yeah.
Wow. Man. Were there any other good stories shared at that panel?
There were a few good ones. Sorry, excuse me.
Oh man, you're gonna make me yawn.
But the one we heard a lot about tools and things that you can do to better prepare yourself. One thing that was brought up a lot was take self-defense classes. There's a lot of, I'm sure in any area, there's places that offer classes on self-defense. And we also heard about different tools that you can have. Like, one is there's things that you can attach to your keychain that can be used kind of as like a blunt force to hit somebody with, or to defend yourself.
They make these really loud alarms for keychains too. Like, there's just this dinky little thing and it has a ripcord, and if you pull the cord out, I actually got one in my mailbox the other day from a lender buddy of mine as like a little gift.
Oh yeah.
And I pulled on it, and I mean, it's like a fire alarm. It was so loud, and I was sitting there like struggling to put the pin back in to turn it off. I was like freaking out. I'm not expecting it. Everyone's like, what was that? I'm in the middle of the office. But yeah, they make alarms, and they have like a really quick background check app you could get. I forget the name of it, but an agent out of our office has brought it up multiple times. If you're getting the creeps from somebody, like, run a background check. Like, don't go out in the boonies with them by yourself.
There's a few really good apps. Forewarn
was the one I was thinking of.
I think Been Verified is another one that you can use. There's a few good ones, and can't remember how much they cost, but it's
worth your life.
Yeah, it's worth your life. That's for sure.
All right, what do you think about concealed carrying?
Yeah.
Didn't the panel talk about that too?
Yep. Yep, they did talk
We're in
about
Idaho. Most people conceal carry, I feel like.
Yeah, when people think about North Idaho, so all you listening, people think about North Idaho as being like super redneck. Really, we're not. Like, for the most part,
There's some
Coeur d'Alene-
rednecks here.
There's some areas for
yeah.
sure, but for the most part, it's just a normal town. But we do care about our guns a lot here. So there are quite a few realtors in this area that will conceal carry, especially going out into rural areas. Mm-hmm. In the panel, we heard both sides. We heard, by the way, these were all, previous police officers, but we heard people that said, yes, you should carry, and people that said, no, you shouldn't carry. So the people that said, yes, you should carry, first of all, in rural areas, you're risking wildlife. Up here, we have mountain lions, we have bears, we have moose, wolves. You can run into anything. So, and then there's also people, right? You have to worry about, sometimes people are less predictable than wildlife is. Mm-hmm. One thing we did hear is that if you don't know how to use something, don't even think about it. So if you don't know how to carry, if you don't know how to use a handgun, it is going to be absolutely no use to you, and it's only going to make the situation worse.
Yeah, if you're going to carry, obviously know. It's kind of a given. Make sure you know how to use it and you're comfortable with it. You don't want to shoot yourself.
Yeah, that goes with anything,
someone else
though,
that you weren't intending.
If you use, if you have a little keychain baton thing or keychain blunt object, or you have pepper spray or whatever you're going to be
using. Mace is a great option.
Mace, make sure you know how to use it.
Yeah.
So the last thing you want to be is in a dangerous situation and fumble.
Yeah. There's some odd people in this world, Miles.
Yeah.
I do think that, Realtor Safety Month seems kind of funny, but, it could be life or death, honestly.
Yeah.
So what's your stance? Carry or not carry? In general. Obviously the situation.
In general, no.
In general, no.
But this is for a reason. First of all, the majority of the work that I do is just in normal residences. I feel like it makes most people uncomfortable a little bit. Obviously, we live in North Idaho. People are used to seeing guns. But I still feel like the majority of the clients that I work with, they would feel uncomfortable if I carried. Mm-hmm. I also feel confident in my personal ability to get out of situations, whether that's through talking or through self-defense. I feel confident enough in my own abilities. So,
or having some sort of exit strategy
already
in place.
Right.
Smarts.
So for that reason, I don't carry.
Yeah, that's
what
a good
about
point. You're right. It's not a one size fits all. How confident are you in your capabilities? If something were to arise, it doesn't always have to be a gun. It could be mace or a pocket knife or bear spray. Whatever. And I don't think I can answer that question because it's not a one size fits all. I would say showing local properties. You're in a neighborhood or you're in town somewhere. There's people around where if you yelled or something, you can find somebody pretty easily. I would say no, because I don't want to make someone feel, why are you carrying a gun in this house? We're in the middle of broad daylight in this neighborhood. Yeah. Now, rural properties, meeting somebody who I don't know for the first time, outside of town, probably. I've done it, but I'm not one of those religiously conceal carried guys. I conceal carry, but just in certain situations.
Yeah. And I will say, depending on where you're at in the country, this whole conversation about firearms might not even apply to you.
Yeah.
Because there are plenty of states that it's just not allowed.
Yep.
And it is what it is. So.
Yeah. Well, also to tack on to that, if you guys have an opinion about the whole safety and self-defense situation, shoot us an email or drop a comment too.
Yeah.
Other than that, I think we're wrapped up here. Cool. Thanks, guys, for watching our episode here. We come out with new episodes at the Realty Room every Tuesday, so stay tuned next week for future episodes. You can follow me at Real Mark Butler. That's Mark with a C.
And you can follow me at Miles Pointer. We'll catch you guys next week.
Take care. All right. 2 episodes.
All right.
Within
just
like
past
2
2.
hours. All right.
Okay. Do you have like 2 minutes? We can just try to see if we can. Let me go grab my little plug. Are you listening, Jason?
A little bit.
Carry or no carry?
What do you mean?
Handguns while showing properties.
Carry. I'll do it.
Yeah? Even like in a neighborhood? Do you carry? Are you carrying now? No.
I will be carrying everywhere. I went in and got my,
Why?
just because I don't want to be a victim.
Touche.
I can do mine.